Yes, I'm recording it now. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. No, sorry. Is this? Yeah, okay. Sorry, where was I? So the final project requires you to problematize this issue called age of uncertainty. So age of uncertainty is pretty broad. In the next slide, I will kind of show how I came about with this phrase. What's the source behind it and all. But the first sentence of the assignment already indicates a hint at what the age of uncertainty is caused by. So the project requires you to delineate the notion of ignorance as reflected in the current social, cultural, political climate globally. Now, the word globally requires you to engage with this issue at a global perspective, not at a particular national perspective. That means not from a Malaysian perspective, not from an Arab perspective, but from a perspective that allows for transnational engagement, hence comparative literature. Because the definition of comparative literature is you have to compare texts across borders, across political borders, national borders, right? Linguistic borders. So the minute you do that kind of transnational discussion, the minute you start to problematize issues at a transnational level, you're already going into the global realm. You're not looking at a local, but you're looking at a more global realm. Okay. Please write down any questions that you have, and then as I am saying this, and then we can go through them later. The question goes on. Using any of the parameters studied this semester, conduct a comparative study across national and or linguistic borders and or different fields of arts using at least 2 relevant texts. So second sentence already defines what comparative literature is, and based on assignment 1, based on the e-task that you have done, based on the discussions that we have done throughout the semester, you know what comparative literature is. You have to take 2 texts from two contexts, national contexts, right? Hence the definition. Does it have to be text written in its original form, or can it be translated? The statement already indicates and or. That means it doesn't have to be linguistically in its original form. It can be a translated text. That's fine. All right. Then you may ask, what if I chose a film with a text? The third component of the second sentence, and or different fields of arts, tells you this, right? Based on our discussion before this, we had definitions by Rimac, we had definitions by Tutosi, we had definitions by the more 21st century current scholars. What kind of text can you use? You get to decide based on your definition of comparative literature. So for instance, if you wanted to choose a text set in America, a film set in America, compared to a text set in the Arab Peninsula or a text set in Malaysia, you may do that, because the definition of comparative literature that you are using incorporates the different fields, the different fields of arts. That includes media studies, that includes films, that includes advertisements, that includes, whatever other forms of visual textual representation. Okay. So the project will be assessed for its explication and discussion of the corpus chosen and methodology used. Back to what we talked about last week. When we say methodology, what is it that we mean? It's the lens that you use to study these 2 texts, right? So if you're going to study minority issues or issues of or representations of minorities, you may use lens that is appropriate to it. If you are going to study issues connected to gender, you will use lens that is appropriate to it, right? So that's the methodology. And this second last sentence, in addition, the project will also be assessed for its ability to remain current within the discipline of comparative literature. What does that mean? It means the way you approach comparative literature in this assignment can be more 21st century. It doesn't have to be 20th century French school, Anglo-American school of comparative literature. The 21st century comparative literature, the definition of comparative literature is widened and broadened. If you look at some of the lecture notes that I gave previously, it talks about how the reader, i.e. yourself, the student, gets to decide on the way you analyze the text, you respond to the text, right? So that's how you remain current. So assignment 1 of the literature review of 3 articles about comparative literature that you did will help in this section. And then the final statement, you are to submit a 4,000 word essay, written essay, in week 15. So week 15 we can negotiate. Week 15 is next week. We can negotiate that 4,000 words, because one of the criteria for a journal paper is around 5 to 8,000 word essay. We're looking at around 20 to say maybe 25 pages long. That kind of an exercise of writing an extended essay is something that you need to develop at the master's level, which is why we have this kind of an assignment. Almost every one of your courses will have you writing essays, because academic writing is an important skill that you need to develop and master before you finish this program, the master's program. And it will also help you with your final thesis. Being able to write extended pieces of academic writing will give you that kind of an experience. Okay, so I'm going to just go through my slides. I'll open to Q&A after this. All right, so Age of Uncertainty, where did that come from? So it came from this book by an economist back in 1977. It's since been made into a documentary. Okay, I'm not gonna, and all these things will be made available if you are interested. So just going straight into what the concept of the Age of Uncertainty implies. So the Age of Uncertainty is from a book by a Harvard, the late John Kenneth Galbraith, the Harvard economist, published back in the 1970s. Okay, one of the key aspects of the Age of Uncertainty is how we can survive and even thrive in this kind of a context. You know, when we are uncertain about something, you can either be held back by that, meaning I don't know how to move forward because I'm uncertain, or you can somehow overcome it and move forward with a kind of firm footing or assurance, because you know how to work through the uncertainty. So these articles are also made available. So just have a look at the first paragraph and how this idea of this topic called Age of Uncertainty is described in the first paragraph. We are living through an era of intense turbulence, disillusionment, and bewilderment. That's the current state of the world today. Okay, we are in a state of turbulence. It could be political, economic, social, cultural. You know, we have wars in different parts of the world. We have poverty in different parts of the world, famine. We have insurgencies. We have various social, cultural, humanitarian issues bombarded, being experienced by various societies in the world. All right, and that kind of conflict creates tension at the global level. Okay, it creates distrust. It creates a kind of looking at each other from the lens of stereotypes. It creates distrust so much, so acutely, that people do not mind going into places of worship, killing people who are in the act of worship in the name of their ideology. you see it happening throughout the world, and you see it happening towards various denominations, not just one particular religious community. Okay, so that kind of ignorance, that kind of uncertainty is rooted in ignorance. That means I don't know enough of that society or community, but I fear them, and my fear towards them materializes in my need to take action by killing them off, right? So that's basically the question that I'm giving to you. The proposition that I'm giving in this assignment allows you to talk about that issue based on any text that you choose. It can be text that we studied. It can be text that you have studied previously. It can be text that you are currently studying with your other lecturers. But I don't want to leave you feeling hopeless, like, oh my God, age of uncertainty. So there is no sense of hope. There's turbulence, disillusionment, bewilderment. Good God, is there a reason to wake up in the morning and live? It's not that kind of assignment. I don't like a bleak assignment, so I will not give you a bleak assignment. But I think it's useful to acknowledge there is this sense of uncertainty and then decide how we move forward. All right. How do we tolerate this notion of uncertainty? Is there any way that we can, quote unquote, tolerate? Even the word tolerate is problematic. When I tolerate someone, it's almost like I don't really want to, but I'm grudgingly doing it because I don't really have a choice. So even the word tolerate can be further problematized. So what I want you to kind of think about with regards to the issue at hand is this. What's your take on this issue, and how does literature, the text that you have been reading, that you are reading, how does it allow you to ask and answer these questions, about ignorance, about uncertainty that's happening at the global level? So you can approach it from any of these perspectives, all right? Number one, you can look at it from an occupied nation's perspective, which is what we did when we looked at the corpse washer by Sinan Antun, okay? So the issue of uncertainty, the age of uncertainty, was experienced in Jawad's narration of how his life unfolded. He had grand hopes for himself to go into the particular field, the field of arts. He wanted to study, and he wanted to marry, and he had relationships, but everything remained at the level of uncertain. Right? Everything was left at that level. Even towards the end, you don't feel a kind of a resolution, right? So if I wanted to study that aspect, I can study it from two perspectives. One, from the context or the perspective of those who are experiencing war, from the war-torn context, and the other could be from the nation that is causing it. Hence, we had the corpse washer comparing it to the yellow bird, right? From the same context. That's one perspective. You may have similar comparison on the theme of the occupied nations perspective from other texts. Like we had last week, I gave you a simple poem by Mahmoud Darwish, Identity Card. Again, it's from the Palestinian perspective. Then we need another one to compare it to the Israel's perspective and how they see their place in the occupation of Palestine. That could be one. There are other similar examples that you can choose. So this is the post-colonial and colonial kind of a binary or the kind of discussion. So it can be also texts that are set in the past. It doesn't have to be current 21st century context. Maybe in your courses on post-colonial context, themes and context, is it? Did you have a course on that?
Theories?
No, there was another course. Do you have a course called post-colonial themes and something? No. or nation and narration. Do you do nation and narration?
Yeah, we do. I do.
Okay, so in nation and narration, you may have studied text set in the colonial times, text set in post-colonial times. You may show that kind of comparison as well. It doesn't have to be, the age of uncertainty doesn't have to be current, but the discussion of using narratives, using literature, allows you to answer some of these issues or questions more easily. Okay. Example number 2, from a minority perspective. So you will choose 2 minorities from 2 different contexts to problematize the age of uncertainty that's happening in the world. So the more we become culturally aware of our differences, should it make us feel more separated from each other, or should it make us feel more connected to each other? So should we learn to be more tolerant of each other? Should we learn to cross the cultural, social, religious divide? Or does it make us build up more barriers between us? What do works of fiction say about this issue? You may problematize that from that perspective. And the third example, that would be, because initially I had hoped gender would be discussed last week. So the third example would be from a gendered perspective. Every text that you have read, you can look at Corpse Washer, you can look at The Hate You Give, you can look at Born a Crime, you can even look at Animal Farm and Pride and Prejudice for sure, from the perspective of gender. So that's the lens, that's the methodology, if you like, right? Where you look at the story, you don't focus on the issue of occupied or minority, you focus on the issue of gender and how the male and female, or female and female, or male and male characters are portrayed, and how that creates for a discussion of the issue of ignorance. I'll give you an example. In I forget her name, in what do you call it? In The Corpse Washer, what's Javat's his girlfriend's name?
Reem.
Sorry?
Reem.
Yes. Yeah. So much about her is left unsaid in the story. Why did she behave in the way she did? How did she cope with what was happening in that society at that time? You hear from Javat's perspective because the narration is from Javat's perspective. So a lot of the things that's happening to the mother, to Reem, to other female characters in that context is left almost blank. It's almost left, it's silenced. So I could look at that text and not study it about the issue of occupation, about the issue of war, but I could look at it from the perspective of gender. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So likewise, I can look at The Hate You Give the similar way. I can look at Born a Crime and not look at Trevor's issues or conflicts, but rather look at Patricia, the mother's position. How is she the way she is? Why is she behaving the way she behaves? And I could just focus on her aspect in the narration and analyze that, and then choose another text about a mother figure and how the mother symbolizes the strength and holds the family unit together from another cultural perspective. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So basically, that's the assignment. Basically, that's my my task. Okay. All right. So any questions? Hello?
Still
Thinking. If it is all right, if it is, the Corpse Washer and The Hate You Give Me. for example?
I'm sorry, I'm eating. To be fair,
Bon appetit.
the combination of to be fair, the combination of text that you choose is as big as an ocean. Can I use the analogy? Any text that you feel is appropriate. The catch is, if the combination is not strong enough, you will find it difficult to conduct the analysis. But if the combination is really solid, really good, really strong, you will find that it's so easy for you to conduct the analysis. That's the way you measure whether I have chosen the right combination.
Okay, if I took the first one, Jawad mother, and the Born a Crime, for example, Patricia. So this, she has very influenced role. Not like Jawad mother, she is very, submissive, just cry and just suffer from her loss. That's it. Could I compare it? But it will not be. I can't elaborate much enough.
Then don't choose it.
Okay. Could you please give me another suggestion? I will be highly appreciated.
No, it has to be, because the final assignment has to be what you are familiar with. The text that you are familiar with, which means it can be text in Arabic. Okay? Just give me a second, just 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. I give you an example.
Please.
Are you all familiar with this?
No, doctor.
I know about her, but her story a little bit just.
Okay. So this is a memoir by the Afghan young woman, Malala Yousafzai. She was shot in the head by the Taliban. The bullet pierced through her eye and went through her skull, but she didn't die. She went on to live. She's currently studying in Oxford. She went on to live, to study, to be successful, write this book, okay? And that's her father. Why was she shot? Because she wanted to study. Because in Afghanistan, in where her hometown, girls are not allowed to go to school. And that's her father. And he set up an all-girls school in their village. And she went on to study. She went on to speak on behalf of the girls in her society, in her community, to champion for more girls to be allowed to go to school. And she was shot because of that. So I could use this example and compare it to how parents, not necessarily mothers, it could be father, it could be mother, how they make an impact in their children's lives towards improving their children's lives. So this is a memoir. I could compare it with another memoir. This one is an Arabic book translated into English. The Arabic text is called, okay, never mind, it's not in here, by Saud al-Sanusi. The text is called The Bamboo Stalk. It's the story of a Filipino.
Yes,
maid.
I know it. Yes.
A Filipino maid who.
Saad al-Anuz dictator?
Yes. There.
Yes.
A Filipino maid who marries a Kuwaiti guy, and they have a son by the name of Isa or Jose. She is Christian, he is a Muslim. And when she gives birth to the child, his his mom especially refuses to accept him, the child, the grandson. So she packs up and goes back to the Philippines. And in the Philippines, nobody wants to accept him either because he doesn't look like a Filipino. In the Middle East, he's not accepted because he doesn't look like an Arab.
Yes.
So he is that kind of a in-between character that you could relate it to Trevor Noah's memoir. But this is not a memoir. This is works of fiction. So I could compare Born a Crime with this. So these are just simple examples. This is books from my library.
Yes,
you may have books in your quote-unquote library that you can use to make those kinds of comparisons. But the point is, you need to find point of connection first. You need to find, okay, what is it that I want to talk about? Do I want to talk about the issue of hybrid identity? Do I want to talk about the importance of paternal strength in a young person's life? What do I want to talk about? And then I find two texts from two different contexts to compare. Ranjini put up her hand. Ranjini, go ahead.
Can we compare memoir with fiction?
That would be the problem. If you could have memoir with memoir is even better. But because I'm not expecting you to publish this article, I'm not going to be terribly picky. But if you were going to publish, that will be the genre, the similar genre would actually help a lot.
Okay. Okay, Doctor, thanks.
But it depends on, I don't want to show this. But it depends on the purpose of your research. If your research is to discuss memoir writing and the way memoirs affect a storyline, then the genre matters. But if the genre doesn't matter, then I would say, yeah, can. Because we chose Born a Crime to study it against The Hate U Give, and The Hate U Give is not a memoir. It may be based on real events, but it is not a memoir. Jennifer, you put up your hand and then you put it back down.
Yeah. Because, although I was thinking if like going to the theme of hybridity, like identity hybridity, so I practically can't compare Star and Trevor, right? Because one is fiction and one is memoir, or is it possible?
Who's Star?
The Hate U Give.
The Hate U Give.
The main actor, the main role, the main character.
Protagonist, yeah.
Yeah.
Star is not a hybrid. How is she a hybrid? Unless you problematize the issue of hybridity. What are the different levels of hybridity? Then you can.
Yes, color.
Okay.
Because in Trevor's case, he is hybrid by birth. Likewise here in the bamboo stalk. But in Star's case, she talks about this hyphenated identity, not because she's born into a mixed family. Rather, she's hybrid because of the education, because of the cultural exposure. So then, yeah, you can. It all depends on what you want to focus on. Ranjini, did you still want to have a question asked?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think if I compare identity, belonging, and coming of age between Born a Crime and also the written? Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
No, seriously, I wish people would make that kind of, use this assignment to kind of like really test a few different hypotheses. What if I compare this text with this other text? That's the whole idea of comparative literature. There is no course in your master's program that allows you this kind of a freedom. Because every course that you take, you need to kind of follow the structure. Like if you study Malaysian literature in English, you cannot study or compare any text from other canon. But in comparative literature, you are allowed to marry canons with one another, just to kind of create this kind of an approach to the study of literature.
Okay.
Right? Any other questions?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah.
The first thing, Doctor, for me, is it okay if I'm focused on the corpus washer to compare with the yellow pet? And this is the first question.
Yeah.
And then I will just select the concept of gender, and the other thing that I will throw my analysis for that. Then is it important to write at the beginning of my final project the concepts of comparative literature that on which this concept that we will choose and analyze our essay? This is the question that I want to
Okay.
ask.
Very good question. The third one I'll answer first. You don't have to begin the paragraph by talking about comparative literature and the value of comparative literature unless you are targeting to submit this journal paper to a comparative literature journal. That means you want to contextualize what it is that you are trying to say to that particular journal. Okay.
Yes.
It all depends on the larger circle of the macro, the big picture of why are you conducting this study, which is why for this assignment I gave you a theme of the age of uncertainty. So you may all begin deliberating the age of uncertainty in your opening paragraph. Okay. And then you narrow it down to a particular concept or context of what this age of uncertainty implies to you. I'm just giving you a kind of an opening or a way into the assignment. Now, question your second and your third question. Your second question, you talked about gender. You want to use gender as a parameter. Did you say you want to use gender to study corpse washer and the yellowbird?
Yeah, I just, for example, take character from the corpus washer to compare it with another character from the yellowbird. This is what I mean.
I'm assuming you want to talk about the issue of masculinity when you say gender, because in both texts, it's the male characters that are more prominent. Is that what you mean?
Sorry, Doctor?
When you say gender, because in both texts, in the yellowbird and in the corpse washer, the male characters are more prominent than the female characters. So when you say gender, I'm assuming you might use the lens of masculinity, the theories of masculinity, the lens of masculinity to look at how these two characters from these two texts appear to portray their masculinity. Is that what you mean?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my student Mariam to present a portion of her analysis on masculinity to your class. So stay tuned for that. So that will be very useful for you. Ranjini, did you put up your hand again?
No, Doctor, I didn't.
Sorry, okay, because your hand is still up.
Oh, sorry. sorry.
No, I love these questions. You guys are really asking me good questions.
Thank you, Doctor.
Sorry, Doctor, how can we find the ignorance in born a crime? As for the first one, if I took the bamboo stock, it will be the ignorance of or uncertainty of the grandmother about the, the Thailand and their culture and so on. But born a crime, where is the ignorance in it? Is it the government?
The society?
Society and government.
The world that looks upon it, the fact that these people's lives are allowed to live the way they are allowed to live without any kind of intervention. Are we ignorant of it, or are we remaining to be uncommitted to other people's concerns? Yeah, there's a huge level of ignorance. The fact that he wrote this story to inform people this is what's been happening in my life already indicates the level of ignorance. That means people have been ignorant of the situation that the blacks as well as the colored people in South Africa have been experiencing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Again.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Doctor, sorry. Last question.
No. Keep asking, please. You have the time.
Thank you, Doctor. Should we have to write 4,000 words, or there is, for example, papers, for example, 15 to 20 papers on just like these things?
What do you mean by 15 to 20 papers?
Pages.
Oh, pages?
Yeah, sorry, I mean pages, yes.
Trust me, when you start getting into it, especially if you have chosen, number one, if you have chosen good text, and number two, if the issue that you have identified is very much evident to you, very much clear to you, you will actually want to write more. 4,000 words is very much a kind of a minimum. Most journals, they expect you to write at least 5,000 words. That's minimum.
Yes.
What I'm trying to get you to do is to kind of train you to expand your thoughts, your ideas. You know, every book club, Ali, to be fair, every book club, when you present your thoughts, you have a kind of a structure that you present, and you present a very extended presentation, and that is just a book club presentation. Yeah. Imagine if you expanded on that, you will have a lot to say.
Yes.
And then you will add literature review to the paper. Then you will have kind of the methodology and then the analysis. So it will bulk up.
You know, Dr. Ignorance is very clear cut in, you know, in the corpse washer, because what happened in Iraq, because of this stereotypes that published about, you know, Arab and Iraqi as well. So this kind of, I don't know, it is very clear here, but how can I compare it with, for example, bamboo stock?
Oh no, if you read the bamboo stock, it's just so heart-wrenching how people can treat each other in such demeaning way, and it's largely because we are ignorant of how we, number one, how we treat each other, number two, yes, how the other people might feel, yes, based on the way we treat them, you know. Bigotry and misogyny and all these kinds of accusations that we throw towards each other is rooted in our ignorance of the impact our actions have on other people. I totally believe that. Okay, so I'm going to break down the 20 pages essay for you. Okay, so these are the...
But I can't, doctor, I can't took both of them because both of them in Arab word. It is impossible to do something like that.
Sorry?
I can't take both of them because both of them are in Arab word, you know. As for
you cannot compare the bamboo stock with the Arab version of it.
Yes.
But you can compare the bamboo stock or the Arabic version of it with some other texts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is very important for Aldika. What you are writing now is very important for us.
No, I will, you know, so if you look at the way I have broken it down, usually it's about 3 pages lah, but you know, because you are reviewing the corpus, you are also reviewing, and you've got 2 corpus, you are also reviewing the writers, you are also reviewing the theme. So 2 to 3 pages to talk about, you know, if you've got the corpse washer and the yellow bird, then those 2 writers, what other people and previous studies on the corpus. This will take 2 to 3 pages easily, if not more. then the theoretical framework and methodology. Okay, and then analysis. Whoopsie daisy. So that's what? 2, 4, 5 or 6 pages already. Then you've got your analysis. And bear in mind, when I say analysis, you know, it includes the excerpts, includes close reading of the excerpt, like what we did with our book club when, you know, you identify particular lines or particular excerpts from the passage, and and I probe you with questions. You know, why is this an important part of the excerpt? What aspect of this excerpt is relevant to your discussion? You need to do all that. On average, okay, on average. And this is 1.5 spacing, something like this. Okay, and the conclusion. So is that, does that come up to right? More or less. Say 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, something like that. More or less. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So actually, I told you that I will choose the corpus washer on the yellow page because I have much to talk and write about.
Yeah.
As you know that.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be 2, you know. You can choose another text. You can choose 3 texts. You can choose the 2 novels with a film version, whatever.
Yes. Okay, Victor. I will choose and tell you after that if I need anything else.
Sure. Any other questions?
Thank you, Victor, for all of your effort with us today.
Doctor?
No, thank you. Until we, you know, we choose our both novels, we will message you, text you.
No problem. Jennifer?
If you don't mind. If you don't.
Yeah, sure. Jennifer, you put up your hand.
I was just rethinking about what I'm gonna write. So if I choose the notion of ignorance as a choice, but I look at mostly how the community treat the people. So treating the treatment given by the community is first towards the women, and second perhaps towards people that are so-called others or different than them.
Good.
And then maybe about the men's role, or maybe about, you know, enforcement, like the police, like the legal side of it. So I look at like the structure is like this, and then I will compare it between the hate you give and Born a Crime. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Or yeah.
Yep.
It's not entirely like towards gender perspective or minority. It's kind of like a little bit a sum of everything, but it's more focused on the community.
Yeah, can, absolutely. Just before I forget one point, when we talk about the analysis, we're looking at 2 novels, yeah. So you're not spending 12 pages working on one novel. You're spending 12 pages working on 2 novels. So Jennifer's example just now, you had the issue of gender. You also had the issue of the authority figure. You also had issues of you said minorities, or
like the colors, like because you're not white, or you're not black, or you're mixed, or
right,
you know, just something like that.
Of identity. So you're problematizing the issue of identity. So in those 12 pages, you need to kind of give enough attention for each text. Otherwise, you are just touching the surface level of the text in question. So that already tells you, I don't have enough pages to kind of discuss all these issues clearly enough. You know, this is why I'm saying 20 pages, it's like, you know, double spacing. It's going to go by very fast, and you would want more pages to kind of more words to kind of expand. my colleague, my friend and I submitted an article to a journal, and the journal said it's because we submitted, I think it was a 7,500 word paper. The journal only accepts a 6,000 word paper. So we had to kind of slash back 1,500, which is not an easy thing to do, because when you've kind of expanded on your discussion, it's difficult to kind of shrink it. Likewise, when it's too short and it doesn't justify the discussion, it's difficult to kind of get a right journal to publish it until you expand it. So the skill of explaining your ideas and thoughts in the right amount of space and limits that's given to you by a journal is another skill that we all need to master. So that's the point I'm making. Vis-a-vis what Jennifer is saying, I would say once I've seen the draft, Jennifer, I would be able to guide you along much, much better.
Okay.
Yeah, because we talk about hybrid identity, for instance. It depends on, maybe you want to talk about the hybrid identity and you want to talk about the combination of culture and gender and all that. That's fine. But then you want to bring in the authority figure into the equation. That might be too complex for a journal paper. For a thesis, maybe okay.
Okay.
I'll send the revised PowerPoint in a minute. Huda, you put up your hand.
Doctor, can we use more than one concept?
Give me an example.
As Jennifer said, she said so and so authority, and the hybridity and something like that. So ignorance could be included many concepts. Could we use more than a concept, or we have to use only one?
I would suggest when you make the decision of the choice of text, I would suggest that you looking for the Venn graph. Where's the Venn graph? Okay. Can you all see what what's on the screen now?
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Now you've got two texts that you are trying to examine.
Yes.
The element that you are trying to discuss in your paper is the convergence between these two texts. But if you have convergence that are multiple, you've got so many different convergence, it would be more confusing for you rather than easier for you. So I would in fact suggest the convergence to be maybe issue of hybridity and how it creates society, something like this, something open-ended like that. Okay, but the issue of hybridity in text A and text 1 and the issue of hybridity in text 2 may be manifested slightly differently. For instance, text 1 might manifest it in the form of racial hybridity, and text 2 might manifest it in the form of educational or class hybridity, as in the head you give. Okay, so but both texts are about minority communities, then that's fine. But if both texts are from different contexts and both texts problematizes hybridity from a very different perspective, the convergence will not be very obvious. Then you will have a difficult time arguing this. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, doctor. Yes,
Yeah.
doctor. And it is very clear if we took, for example, if I take, for example, bamboo stock with the Borna crime, it will be
Sure. For
it
sure.
will be much, yes, it will be much
And the
suitable
fact,
for each other. And only one concept, it is hybridity. That's it.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, thank you, doctor.
yeah, no worries. Okay, any other question?
Doctor, a small question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the deadline for our final project?
Okay, when do you all think you can submit? I'm open to negotiation. How long do you think you need?
I don't know. We have 4 projects.
I understand.
So we have 4 final projects.
As for me and Jennifer, it's 5. No, Jennifer, she doesn't take Bahasa. Just me. I have 5.
How long do you think you will need?
Victor, you say, and we will answer you if it is okay or not.
Up to your generosity.
It's up to you.
Let me double check with Dr. Ravi, because I will need, you see, I have 5 essays that I would have to read, and I don't read simply like 2 minutes each paper. I make time, especially if the paper has quality for journal publication. Okay, so I would need at least a couple of days, 2 to 3 days to read through, and I don't work over the weekend. The weekend is my time. Okay.
Of course.
So I will find out from Dr. Ravi when the deadline for mark submission is, and then I will give you 1 week from that deadline. Is that fair?
That's great from you, Doctor.
Yeah. That means whatever the date that Dr. Ravi has given the lecturers, I will minus from that 1 week, one working week, and I will give you that deadline.
Okay, Doctor.
Okay, doctor. Thank you.
Okay.
That is okay.
Yeah. So tentatively, we are looking at middle of July. So 4 weeks from now.
That is okay, Doctor. Okay.
Okay. But do not wait until then. Start working on it. Meet with me, consult with me online on a regular basis so that you feel more confident going into the date of submission. Is that all right?
Doctor,
yes, doctor.
Now, 1 week, if I can show you my draft to take your point of view about it.
Ali, the line was not good. I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat that, please? Ali?
Yes, do you hear me now?
Yes. Could you repeat what you just said?
Hello, Doctor.
Yeah. Could you repeat what you just said?
Yes, I just told you that I just want to 1 week to prepare my first draft in order to send it by email or WhatsApp, in order to just take your point of view about it.
One of the things that I have learned is that writing your thoughts is the final stage. before you can start writing your thoughts, you need to be able to present your thoughts. You need to be able to talk about your thoughts and your ideas. So don't wait until you have written it down to kind of talk to me. And I don't have, honest to goodness, I don't have time to read drafts unless it's master's and PhD and undergraduate thesis, which is what I'm doing this week and last week, because submission deadlines are coming up. But meet up with me to just talk to me about your ideas. You may show me PowerPoint slides that you have prepared saying that these are some of the things that I'm thinking of doing. What are your thoughts about it? Don't wait until you are prepared to write certain things down, because being able to articulate your thoughts is one skill. Being able to write those thoughts down, it's another higher level skill. So don't wait until you can write it down before you meet up with me. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay, Victor, I see. Okay.
So don't wait. Don't wait till then. Just like maybe you've got some ideas and you just want to WhatsApp me. You can. Maybe you want to just record it in a WhatsApp and say, these are some of my thoughts. Please tell me what you think. You don't have to make it formal until you've written something down before you want to come and see me or talk to me. Okay? All right. Huda put up her hand.
Okay.
Doctor, is there a limitation for our articles that we use it as a reference, as references?
One of the things to do now is to look at how other people write journal articles. What is a good quality journal article? Which is why when you conduct the review of literature, when you conduct this part here, can you see? Can you all see?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah. When you conduct the literature review of your paper, when you look at how other journal articles are written and presented, you will be able to gauge what kind of a quality do you want from your own paper. How should the introduction be? How long should the literature review be? How many references makes a very good paper? I would say at least 5 current references. Current meaning the last 5 years. Most journals will require that. That's the first thing. The second thing would be the more you read, the more you are able to identify the issue that is missing. So the whole idea of the literature review is towards identifying the gap. What's the point of the literature review is for you to be able to identify this is what people have not talked about yet with regards to these 2 texts. Do you understand?
Yes, Doctor.
So if you read 5 journal articles, you cannot fairly make a statement or the conclusion that people have not, scholars have not problematized the issue of gender on these 2 corpus, because you have only looked at the corpus from 5 different perspectives. Okay, try to make it as broad and wide as possible, meaning anything that you find in the period that you are given, in the time frame that you are given, you work on it. So I would say I would spend a couple of days just going online, just looking at journal articles and books and book chapters about the corpus that I have identified. That's it. I would spend a couple of days just doing that.
You know, Doctor, because we have the bamboo stock is as episodes at TV, you know, Kuwaiti.
Really?
TV. Yes, yes.
Wow.
So I have to go through, you know, Arabic articles.
No. You. That's why I say you don't have to, because my PhD student Arij from Saudi, has submitted her PhD thesis. She's waiting Viva, and one of the corpus that she is studying is the bamboo stalk. So I don't expect that level of research. I don't expect the level of research of a PhD or a master's thesis. But within the 2 to 3 pages that you have for your literature review, try to make your review of literature as compact as possible. So I would say 10 articles at least, right?
All right.
But 5 of which must be more current than the others.
All right.
It could be journal articles, it could be review in a newspaper, but whatever it is, it has to be a published source, not blogs or, you know, statements on Facebook or Twitter or the social media and stuff like that.
Yes, but it's all right if it is, of course, Arabic.
Yeah.
Because it is very well known. It is very well known in Arab world. This
And it's award-winning
episode.
novels. Both the Arabic version and the English version has won awards. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
Thank you, Doctor.
Anyone else has question?
No, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to go quickly around. Shahira, everything okay?
Yeah, I was originally thinking about doing The Hate You Give and Born a Crime, but now I think I might want to change my novel, but I will update you if anything.
Sure. And it can be a novel with a film.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Ranjini?
Hi, Dr. Wans. Can we have like a short one-to-one session today?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just show you very rough draft later.
Today or
Today, after this, possible?
Yes.
Okay.
Ken? Jennifer?
I'll update you, doctor.
I would like some kind of an update every week from all of you.
Sure.
Yeah. Just let me know how things are going and yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Huda,
Certainly.
everything okay? Any questions?
No, doctor. Thank you. Thank you very
Ali?
much.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for
Okay.
all your efforts with us.
Okay, no problem. All right, so we will meet on Wednesday for Prof. Ruzi's lecture. After that, if you need to meet me for consultation for the final project, you can also.
Okay, doctor.
Okay?
Okay.
And the rest of the
Okay.
week as well, just let me know.
Thank you.
Okay, Doctor.
Right?
Thank you very much.
So except for Ranjini, everybody else will leave, huh?
Okay, thank you.
Right. I'm gonna
Okay.
stop
Thank you,
recording.
Doctor.